welcome to Intermission at Folk Night at the Registry. I'm Jan Vanderhorst. Now let's spend some time with tonight's featured performer, Terra Spencer. Welcome to Folk Night and to Kitchener.
Thank you. I will take that welcome. I'm happy to be here.
First of all, congratulations on winning English Songwriter of the Year at the recent Canadian Folk Music Awards.
You can say it as many times as you want. It's still strange to me.
After you won, you posted on social media about what songwriting has done to your life. Could you explain what you wrote?
Well, what I wrote after the fact was trying to remember what I said in the blur because, you think being a writer, you go in prepared with something, and I did not. But I think the core of it is songwriting has changed my life, and I can say that with absolute truth. This was not part of my game plan in life, and I did not forecast the direction songwriting would take me, the places, the people that I would meet, and the heroes, my own personal heroes that I would get to call friends and colleagues and create with, and it's really taken a turn for me.
Now, over these few years, you've collaborated, written with a number of people: Dave Gunning, David Francie, Ben Kaplan, Matt Anderson, and at the CFMAs, you were able to perform with Stephen Fearing, who appears on your most recent album, but you had not sung together on the album.
We hadn't. I've loved Stephen's music since I think I was 13 years old when I heard him on CBC radio. I grew up surrounded by country music and was not a fan, and was seeking out any different sounds I could hear, and latched onto Stephen's music, his voice, his writing, his guitar playing. I think he was the first songwriter that I really focused in on to see, what is this craft and the vulnerability in it, and tried learning to play guitar. I think I said this at the awards where I had a cassette tape, that's my vintage, of his that I tried to learn to play guitar with, but when you wear out a cassette, it stretches and it gets slower and slower, and I'd have to keep detuning my guitar to match the cassette to learn his song. So yeah, we had never sung that song. It's called East to West, quite appropriately. And I had sent it to him. He's in BC. I'm out on the East Coast in Nova Scotia. But that award show was the first time we'd ever actually sung that song together in person. And it meant the world to me.
Yeah. So with these collaborations of writing songs, what have you learned about songwriting from them?
Well, two different things. I mean, there's the process of co-writing, and then there is the great process of just writing a song and wishfully assigning a singer to it, and I've had the great pleasure to do both. But co-writing, I've come to see as a really sacred space, and it can be with a stranger. You make an appointment or you're doing a workshop, and you walk into a room with no expectations and tons of reservations, and the way it just opens up. There's something about putting that song on the table between you that suddenly you can tap into feelings and experiences and emotions that you would never get to in plain conversation.
Right.
It's precious.
Your most recent album is Sunset, and it was produced by Dave Gunning, but you kind of gave him a challenge because you sort of recorded the whole thing and then said, "Here, David, can you produce this?"
Yeah, well, Dave would stop you right there, because truth be told, if Dave had produced this album, it would have been a very tidy, organized process. But because it was me actually producing it and then taking it to Dave to try and sort out whatever hornet's nest we'd created in the studio, it was a very different process. Dave, he's so pro. He's such a clean producer when he works. And we did this album essentially live off the floor. There was no click track to keep everything lined up. It was just, let's take some songs out of my notebook and make some noise together over 2 days, and then dump it on Dave's desk and leave it to him to, pull his hair out and figure out how to tidy it all up. And he's brilliant.
Now, you went into performing and songwriting, going on tour, at a time when you were a funeral director, and then
Yes.
you've changed directions. How much easier was it because your kids were a little older, teenagers, a little more independent?
It was hard enough
Yeah.
to leave home the first time when my kids were, young teens. And that's, 2019 is the first time I properly went on tour. But I would say, had they been young, it just wouldn't have been possible. And I don't mean because of anyone else in the world, but just because of my own heart. I have such admiration for people like the Good Lovelies, who have been mothers all through their careers and raised their babies that way. I don't think I would have had the emotional fortitude to make a go. So the timing actually was great. I'm glad I wasn't 20 years old jumping into this.
You've been hosting online songwriting workshops in groups, one-on-one. What do you get out of that experience of mentoring other songwriters?
Sure. Well, although my credentials I still don't think are up to snuff, what I get out of it, you can ask my family. When I finish one of these workshops, I will run around the house and tell them all about it because it fills up my batteries. Being able to see that kind of magic at work, there's technique and craft involved, but also things just come out of the ether and surprise you. And especially with first-time writers who thought they had no stories to tell. And I'm convinced that everyone has a story. They just need a listener. And so that part is so exciting and rewarding to me, to see a song take shape out of the air just by listening to each other and a little bit of rhyming, a little bit of wordplay maybe. I felt that magic myself, when a song comes out of nowhere and you write it and then you have to go out for a walk because it seems like something that came from outside yourself. I love it.
Is that sort of a real for you? Is that you can share that just not that long ago you were in the same place as they are?
Absolutely. The first workshop that I ever taught, air quotes, was with David Francie. And I had not told him beforehand that I'd never even attended a workshop before and had no clue what I was doing. So that's absolutely my experience, is just winging it. And then suddenly you have something that seems like a song and you play it in front of people and gauge their reactions and then they decide if it's a song or not. But yeah, it's been such a gift to me. And we're all just learning every time we attempt it.
Right. On this tour and a couple of other times that you've been on tour, you've had your mom come with you. What's the experience of touring the online on the road lifestyle with your mom?
Right. Well, it's a shame she's not here for you to interview her. You might need to do that later. My mom and I have been pretty close all along. I'm an only child, but she was not a traveler at all. When I say I wasn't, she truly, truly wasn't. So this has been a grand adventure for her. And tour dynamics are always interesting. I love touring. I've, loved everyone that I've had the pleasure to travel with, but there is something different about it being your mom. You kind of tear a strip off each other in a different way. But she has made friends all through Ontario, so much so that now this is her third time coming on tour through this route.
Right. And now the album Sunset's been out for a couple of years, I guess. Have you got the songs sort of lined up for the next album?
Yes, it is underway. I've had a few recording days and then had to abandon it for a little while to come on these tours for a few months. But yeah, those songs are in the bank. There's a big batch this time around, and working with some familiar people from past projects and some new folks too. And it is the scariest project that I have attempted so far, in a good way, I think, just because of the content of the songs. And I look forward to when we can have a conversation and dig into those in the future.
Sure. Well, I mean, the influences that you have in your music are pretty wide range. Singer-songwriter, there's a bit of gospel influence. Is it easy to sort of narrow everything down into a cohesive thread for each song?
You know what? I should think about it musically. Dave Gunning would tell me to think about it musically, and I think about stories.
Okay.
And, the thread of characters and events and themes. That's the way I structure an album, even if it's not apparent to anyone but myself in the end. There will be an overall story that weaves through these songs, and that's very much the case with this next project. And the noises we make are just the noises we make.
Maybe that's the album title.
Sure.
Thank you so much for your time. It's been a pleasure.
Always is. Thank you so much.
And now it's time for the second half of tonight's concert.